It's time once again for the House Whisperers Show on WWDB Talk 860. Stay tuned for expert advice about maintaining your house from the roof to the basement. Featuring the man who talks to houses and hears what they have to say back. Professional home inspector Jack Milne. I'm Barry Reisman, and Jack Milne, welcome back to WWDB. Good to have you with us.
Well, thank you, Barry. I know we're all trying to survive this winter. It's been particularly brutal.
Oh, I didn't notice.
Oh, I'm ready for the snowshoes.
Yeah.
People keep asking me, how can I inspect the roof with golf cleats on? But, you got to do what you got to do. We're seeing a lot of icicles. We did actually a show on that last week. And, folks, if you've got a lot of icicles hanging from your gutters, I would do what you can to try to get the snow off the first maybe 1 to 2 feet off your roof. Even if you purchase what's called a snow rake. And if you can pull it down and get some heat underneath your soffits and some airflow, hopefully we can make those icicles melt and the water won't come into your home. But, Barry, as you know, the motto of the show is where every house has a story. And today's topic is called Powerless, and it's one of those double entendres where some of us have had power and some of us have lost our power due to our recent storms. And I'm going on to say fact versus fiction. So before we kick in, of course, I'd like to thank the sponsors, Bucksmont Inspections. They are asking us that if anyone is interested in having their on-site sewage system evaluated because of the snow, please identify where your septic holding tank is located. From that point forward, Bucksmont Inspections can go ahead and evaluate the system. So their phone number is 215-669-4213. Burrow exterminating, yeah, guys, it's cold out there, but before you know it, it's going to be termite season, so let's get prepared. They also do radon testing as well. Their number is 610-586-5640. My Bud's a Pest Blaster. They cover radon, mold, wood-destroying insects, pest removal. And again, I had a good story from one of their mechanics who had a story of a homeowner that kept hearing noises at night, so he sent up one of those little GoPro cameras, and here there was a 12-inch rat in his kitchen. Yikes.
Wow.
So they called Pest Blaster. They went out and took care of that little critter. Their phone number is 215-295-5555. Of course, brainfleshgear.com. It doesn't get any easier than that, but you can also email them at contact@brainfleshgear.com. Spring's around the corner. If you're having any type of family get-togethers, sport teams, or just for the fun of it, reach out to these guys, and they can help you with some creative ideas for your sportswear. And, of course, finally, Tri-County Inspection Company. I've been running Tri-County since 1985. I actually did a count last week, Barry. We're in 15 counties these days instead of 13. I guess I lost track. But some phone numbers, 215-295-2030 for the Bucks, Montgomery County areas. If you live up in the Lehigh Valley, you can find us at 610-346-7880. And for New Jersey, 856-853-4224. And again, as I always ask, if you're going to use the vendors that help sponsor this program, please let them know that they did, or whoever did, hear their ad on the House Whisperer Show. So, and finally, and I always forget this, you can listen to the show via the podcast at www.dbam.com. So, email box. We heard from Joan from Newtown. Jack, I heard your show with Glenn, the electrician, and I bought a home with a generator and did not know what type it was or what is required to keep it running. I called the installer who came out and reviewed the operating instructions, what circuit it covered, and now have a better idea as to what to expect when the lights go out. Folks, I got this email February 3rd, the day after Glenn's interview, and the next winter storm kicked our butts here in PA with 8 to 10 inches of snow, followed by a light rain and deep freeze. And I know you all know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
Joan, for this reason, this show is dedicated to you and your email. So I'd like to get it started. But by the way, please email me at thehousewhispershow@gmail.com or the website at thehousewhispershow.com. Of course, the podcast is always available. I also want to personally thank Barry Reisman and the station manager, who is the station manager at WWDB, who assists me each week with his show, and the owners of WWDB to allow the show to be rebroadcast, I understand, in March on Saturdays at 1:30.
We love it. We love the show, and our listeners do too.
Well, all I can say is thanks, for the opportunity, and I ask that you tell your friends and associates. So here we go. Powerless, fact versus fiction. So let's kick into the fact first. And guys, I don't care what the politicians say, but global change is upon us. And no matter what the Democrats or the Republicans are preaching us, temperatures are changing big time. And I ask that you listen to the scientists, as these are people that aren't political. They're not dependent on our vote to keep their seat in Trenton, Harrisburg, or Washington, D.C., and it's the scientists who are really looking out for our best interests. Politicians are out there for their best interests, as I think we've all come to know. What I don't understand is why they have their own health care, and what I feel is the special interest needs only. Although we voted them in, it seems we can't get them out. We all know and recognize that our summers are getting hotter, our springs are getting shorter, and winters are getting colder in the West. And also, we're experiencing for the first time in a long time the drying out of or parching of our soils. Look at the forest fires that are spreading, literally from west to east. And the individual knows that the government is no longer there to back us up. The budget did not plan for any of these events. And again, I'm upset with the fracking that's going on in our own backyard. We don't count on polluted wells, but it always seems that the government says, don't worry about it, everything is fine, even though folks are taking pictures on YouTube with their well water catching fire. Their special interests, be they the gas and the oil lobbies, the builders of new Comcast skyscrapers in Philadelphia, their interests are for their bottom line. But what I don't understand is why our Comcast bill is now $200 a month, with or without the Weather Channel, which I believe is actually owned by Comcast. That's another point. What's with the Weather Channel now labeling every winter storm with a name? And, this I found started last year, and honestly, all this does, in my opinion, is add some fear and absolutely some apprehension as to what is going to approach. And I kind of liked it when they actually just told the weather without having to put the fear of God into us all by saying, don't go to work today. I don't recommend it. These folks are in Atlanta. They're also scattered about the country. But, it's very hard for commerce to operate when someone at 6 in the morning says, don't go out today, it could be dangerous. If you don't know how to handle the weather, then I do ask you to stay home. But for those of us who are in small businesses, we count on trying to get to the site to help our people, be it home inspections, if the furnace is out, if there's a plumbing leak, anything. But you don't and should not put the fear of God into those people who have to make a living on a regular basis. Tell us what we need to know and how to best approach it so that we can plan our day accordingly. I know I like the weather folks because, they can be right 50% of the time and still get paid. And I think that's the only career path that does that. I just get frustrated personally with some of the advice they give. As to the home inspector, we at Tri-County are more dependable than the Postal Service. A couple of weeks ago, after that first storm we had with the 8 to 10 inches, my office is in Morrisville, Pennsylvania. I left at 7 o'clock, and I reached my seller's property in Collegeville by 20 after 9. On the way out, I got a call from the realtor who said that they were stuck and could I pick up the client. Now, I was on 422 heading out to Collegeville. My realtor was on Germantown Pike. And, looking at the GPS and with all the red lines and pink lines and everything else, it would have taken me almost an hour to go almost straight across. Meanwhile, I was only about 20 minutes away from the house I had to inspect. We are very cognizant of weather conditions, but we also have time frames that we have to do our work within and issue reports back in time, too. If you have to go out, plan special times. Try to stick to the main roads. Try to stay off the back roads, because it's going to be the back roads that are going to be the last ones to be serviced, while the turnpikes and the main arteries are the first to get salted and cleared. But anyway, when I pulled up to the site, when the seller opened the door, she had her cute line. She goes, "You got to be kidding me." So I don't think she was anticipating that we were actually going to make it, but we made it on time.
Jack Milne, the House Whisperer, is right here, and we'll take this break and be back in just a minute.
Everything is easy 'cause of you.
Boro Exterminating has been specializing in wood-destroying insect inspection and control for over 40 years, serving Philadelphia and the surrounding counties. All inspectors are state certified and ensure providing their clients with professional inspections and treatments. Boro not only performs conventional termite treatments, but also handles special services like historic buildings and homes with wells, creeks, or ponds. The client is assured that all treatments will be performed safely when you hire Boro to do the work. They also provide radon testing in their service area. Boro's full-time office staff is available to help you schedule an appointment. Just call 610-586-5640 or send an email request to boroinspects@verizon.net. That's 610-586-5640 or email at boroinspects@verizon.net.
Specially created t-shirts by BrainFlushGear.com offer the extreme sports enthusiast an opportunity to have a clothing line available that suits their sport. BrainFlushGear.com understands that when we get the moment where we can jump on our motorcycles, wave runners, surfboards, snowmobiles, or skateboards, it can be priceless. They offer custom artwork including silk screening, transfers, and embroidery. Speak to one of their consultants today and they'll help you create your own Brain Flush. Visit BrainFlushGear.com or email them at contact@BrainFlushGear.com.
For your septic inspection and testing needs, please consider Bucksmont Inspections. They've been serving the Bucks and Montgomery County areas for over 15 years. As members of the Pennsylvania Septic Management Association, the Pennsylvania Association of Sewage Enforcement Officers, and the Pennsylvania Association for Professional Soil Scientists, Bucksmont Inspections can inspect your existing septic system or test for your new septic system placement. Please call Rob Bowie at 215-669-4213 and say you heard their ad on the House Whisperer Show.
As the weather gets cooler and the temperatures drop, the bugs might slow down, but the rodents don't stop. Mice and rats begin to invade homes during the fall and winter months, looking for food, warmth, and a comfortable place to nest. Don't wait for pesky rodents to invade your home. Fight back. Have your home baited and ready for their attack with Pest Blaster. Whether preventative or a full-blown infestation, give Pest Blaster a call at 215-295-5555 and they can discuss the solution to your problem. They also offer humane animal removal services for a wide variety of wild animals, damage repairs, and cleanups. Call them today at 215-295-5555 or check them out at pestblaster.com, servicing both New Jersey and Pennsylvania. Pest Blaster, 215-295-5555 or pestblaster.com for all your pest control needs.
Tri-County Inspection Company has been providing professional home inspections, commercial inspections, and historic property evaluations for over 25 years. Tri-County Inspection Company covers 13 counties, serving both New Jersey and Pennsylvania. They've performed inspections for over 70,000 clients and are members of the American Society of Home Inspectors, as well as the Pennsylvania Home Inspectors Coalition. They are licensed in both Philadelphia and New Jersey. For all of your real estate transactions, transactions, call Tri-County Inspections at 215-295-2030. For their New Jersey clientele, call 856-853-4224. In PA, call 215-295-2030. In New Jersey, 856-853-4224.
Our house is a very, very, very fine house with 2 cats in the yard.
And we are back once again with the House Whisperer, Jack Milne at WWDB. And Jack, you said before the break that when we come back, we're going to talk fiction. Well, you have me curious. What type of fiction do you have in mind?
Well, as the segment is called, Powerless, Fact versus Fiction. So on the fiction side, Barry, things are going to get better. Okay, now that's not, is that fiction or is that a fact? But this is a good one. I think as homeowners, we have to start to look out for ourselves and our families. So after these past storms and before the summer hits, let me advise all of you to seek out a generator. A couple weeks ago, I did have Glenn Ost on talking both manual as well as automatic generators. And what I'd like to have you do is think about before this summer, and think about purchasing a generator. I think it's going to become the new reality. And you have to really think about what you want to get powered in your homes versus do you want your whole home done. But again, as we start to feel this little bit powerless, think about our utilities. First off, no one wants us to burn with coal anymore because it's dirty. No matter what the advertisers say, there's no such thing as clean coal. All coal does is push carbon monoxide as well as sulfur dioxide into our atmosphere and, can kill our trees and basically affect our respiratory tracts. So we're moving away from coal. What's next? Nuclear. Now, remember, I forget, I think I was in college when 3 Mile Island blew. And I think that was about 1976 or so, 75. And ever since then, there haven't been any nuclear power plants that have been constructed. So we've taken away that. And one of the reasons I'm kind of glad that nuclear is not in our backyards anymore is that the nuclear waste can stay active for more than 2,000 years. So,
wow.
Oh, it's incredible, Barry. And, I even said in my notes here that, Jesus walked this land, 2,000 years ago.
Yeah.
So can you imagine this nuclear waste staying active for that long? The government had planned to put a deep receptacle in one of the mountains in Utah or in Wyoming, one of the most western states, to store this nuclear waste and to have it so safe that even a nuclear strike or an earthquake wouldn't, affect this waste. But the funding stopped. So believe it or not, Barry, there's still all these barrels filled with nuclear waste at our nuclear facilities. They're not sure where to put it. So nuclear still doesn't have a very good taste to it. And of course, gas is our most popular form of heating, but gas is also used to, of course, generate electricity too. So our gas costs are now going up because of the colder weather. And the last thing I read is that propane has gone up by about a third because right now we're exporting more propane than we need. And this is that powerless thing again. Sometimes you would think that with winter and being upon us and pounding us right now, why would the propane suppliers be interested in exporting what we produce in our own homelands and without having to raise the cost of those people who need it locally? And the sad part is, especially in the Midwest, there's actually a shortage of propane. So where our farmers are, tending their large acreage, maintaining our livestock, they can't get propane right now. Again, I don't know where the brain trust is those folks running our country, but I guess they're putting profits in front of people. So I do want you to think about a generator. And again, I hate the thought of Powerless, but I've got to read you some numbers here. In the last storm that began with N, I forget the name of it already because I think we're up to P, there were over 600,000 people without power. Now, compare that to Hurricane Sandy. Over 850,000 people were without power. Now, I can understand a hurricane. That is something that was catastrophic to our whole eastern shore of New Jersey, Philadelphia, went all the way up to New York, and everybody remembers those images. But the storm that knocked power out for 600-some-odd-thousand people was a standard 8 to 10 inches of snow followed by a light rain and freezing. To me, that's a typical storm. We're going to have more and more of these typical storms. In Bucks County, 118,000 people lost power. That was 51% of the population. 70% of the people in Chester County lost their power to the tune of 150,000 folks. In Delaware County, 22% of those people lost power, roughly 54,000 people. 49% or 150,000 people lost power in Montgomery County, and only 2% or 14,000 people lost power in Philadelphia. I mean, those numbers are incredible. And like I was saying, this is an average storm. So where my inspector had lost his power for more than 7 days, some of the phone poles in our power lines were actually originals dating back about 60 years or so. So when a tree fell on the power lines, the phone poles broke like toothpicks. And with the placement of these poles being in fenced backyards, that was one of the problems. They couldn't get the trucks in to use the auger to set the new poles. PECO, after 48 hours, you said that it's going to be a rough couple of days. And what a quote, a rough couple of days. And to me, that was fiction, okay? So let's ask the 600,000 people that have been without power for more than a week. Again, fiction. Our electrical grid can handle it. Folks, I don't think so. Power outages are going to become more and more commonplace. The Northeast grid from Washington, D.C. to Boston has been stretched for years. Winters and summers offer more stress, and at any storm, regardless of the size, is leaving us more powerless in more ways than one. Fact. Our electrical loads in our own homes versus those at the commercial end of things, be it manufacturing, industrial, production of our goods and services, are going up with the uptick of the economy. So they're going to demand more power, and where are they going to take it from? They're going to take it from the grid. And this is why you're going to see off-peak meters starting to kick in, most likely this summer, where they're going to sometimes double the use of power that you use cost-wise during the day versus that at night. Now, again, at night, those rates are going to drop. Energy production is going to go up. Energy costs are going to go up. I read this in the article or in the newspaper a few days ago, and I think this makes sense, and I want to read it to you because this is a fact. Critical facilities, including hospitals, emergency response centers, and schools, are your first priority. After that, crews have to restore power based on the number of customers served by a circuit. That usually means fixing distribution lines closest to power substations. Wooded areas provide more challenges. Wires and poles can be damaged in multiple places along the same line, slowing the process. The last step is to reach the people on single distribution lines, which tend to be rural homes, farther from transmission lines and substations. Keep in mind that, according to PECO, no preference is given to commercial or residential customers. They also say they don't give estimates for when power it was expected to be fully restored to the region. With one of my inspectors, he was spending on average about $30 to $35 a day on gasoline feeding his manual generator. And he gave me some advice that I should give to you. First off, make sure that the oil has been checked in your manual generators if you are renting them or you own one. Because with the constant use, the oil is going to be used a lot greater, and you don't want to run out of oil, otherwise you ruin the generator. 2, be specific as to what you truly need, because the more things you plug into the generator, well, the more gas you're going to use, which means more trips back to the gas station, sometimes in the middle of the night. Try to give some off hours for the generator. If you're going to run it 8 hours a day, then maybe try to give it 2 hours off and then fire it back up again and try to turn it off before you go to bed, pull up the covers, add more blankets, and then be ready to fire up your generator again in the morning. A good 12-kilowatt manual generator is going to run you about $2,200 to have Glenn hook it up, figure about another $800 to $1,000. So your investment's about $3,000. For a whole house generator, my generator was about $10,000 for my home. I lost power for less than a minute. It kicked on automatically. My whole house runs everything. Now, what I found amazing is that when the power did come back on, you couldn't tell. All of a sudden, you realize that the clock on the Comcast box stopped reading 12 o'clock and actually read 9:47 when my power went back on.
Well, Jack, we're not going to lose our power, but we are losing our time right now. The clock is running out real fast.
Well, this segment went quick. But, folks, please, if you have any questions on anything that deals with generators or how you can get through these storms, I again ask you to email me at thehousewhisperershow@gmail.com. If you need a phone call, please include your phone number. I'll be happy to reach you through these troubled times. Folks, as it is the weekend, I ask that you spend time with friends and families. Please help those families that may be in need. If you have older folks that live near you, assist them with maintaining their home or shoveling out their driveway. I know it's appreciated, and there's nothing better than a thank you.
Tune in again next week for another edition of the House Whisperer Show with professional home inspector Jack Milne. Now, you can listen to previous programs, or if you have any questions, visit thehousewhisperershow.com. I'm Barry Reisman, and thank you so much for listening to WWDB.